Great day to be alive. Great day to be alive. We're gonna get some more reading in today. I do not have my book with me. I want to keep it basic, and I want to actually go back and start reading from The Science of Getting Rich. I want to continue reading from this. For those of you that did not get a chance to get it the first time, and also an opportunity for me to improve on my actual reading. So follow along, enjoy the reading, like, share, and subscribe. And remember, this shit is nonstop. We're all constantly growing to become better versions of ourselves. If you fall in the category of talking shit, thank you. I appreciate you, bro. Because you, my friend, are the reason why I will fucking succeed. I will continue making progress. All right, so you're part of the reason. All right, so chapter one. So whatever may be said in praise of poverty, the fact remains that it is not possible to live a really complete or successful life unless one is rich. No man can rise to his greatest possible height and talent or soul development unless he has plenty of money. I'm going to put an alarm so I don't get sidetracked, but I don't also shortcut myself as well. All right. Unless he has plenty of money for to unfold the soul and to develop talent, he must have many things to use, and he cannot have these things unless he has money to buy them with. A man develops in mind, soul, and body by making use of these things. For society is so organized that man must have money in order to become the possessor of things. Therefore, the basis of all advancement for man must be the science of getting rich. The object of all life is development. All right. So we're gonna make sure we take notes as well, that we stay fairly active, just because there's so many good things that come from these books, right? It's all about not only reading the information, but taking in the time to internalize it, right? So one of the most effective ways known is repeating it, writing it, and also something one of my virtual mentors said years ago is if you want to learn something, if whenever you teach something, you learn it twice, right? So if you want to learn something, teach it and you learn it twice. So let's get it. All right. So a man develops in mind, soul, and body by making use of things. And society is so organized that man must have money in order to become the possessor of things. Therefore, the basis of all advancement for man must be the science of getting rich. The object of all life is development, and everything that lives has an inalienable right to all the development it is capable of attaining. Man's right to life means his right to have the free and unrestricted use of all things which may be necessary to his fullest mental, spiritual, and physical unfoldment, or, in other words, his right to be rich. In his book, I shall not speak of riches in a figurative way. To be really figurative way. To be really rich does not mean to be satisfied or contented with a little. No man ought to be satisfied with the little if he is capable of using and enjoying more. The purpose of nature is the advancement and unfoldment of life, and every man should have all that can contribute to the power, elegance, beauty, and richness of life. To be content with less is sinful. So the man who owns all he wants for the living of all the life he is capable of living is rich, and no man who has not plenty of money can have all he wants. Life has advanced so far and become so complex that even the most ordinary man or woman requires a great amount of wealth in order to live in a manner that even approaches completeness. Every person naturally wants to become all that they are capable of becoming. This desire to realize innate possibilities is inherent in human nature. We cannot help wanting to be all that we want to be. Success in life is becoming what we want to be. You can become what you want to be only by making use of things and you can have the free use of things only as you become rich enough to buy them. To understand the science of getting rich is therefore the most essential of all knowledge. There's nothing wrong in wanting to be rich. The desire for riches is really the desire for a richer, fuller, and more abundant life. And that desire is praiseworthy. The man who does not desire to live more abundantly is abnormal. And so the man who does not desire to have money enough to buy all he wants is abnormal. There are three motives for which we live. We live for the body, we live for the mind, and we live for the soul. No one of these is better or holier than the other. All are alike desirable, and no one of the three, body, mind, or soul, can live fully if either of the others is cut short of full life and expression. It is not right or noble to live only for the soul and deny mind or body, and it is wrong to live for the intellect and deny body or soul. We are all acquainted with the loathsome consequences of living for the body and denying both mind and soul. And we see that real life means the complete expression of all that man can give forth through body, mind, and soul. Whatever he can say, no man can be really happy or satisfied unless his body is living fully in every function, and unless the same is true of his mind and his soul. Wherever there is unexpressed possibility or function not performed, there is unsatisfied desire. Desire is possibility seeking expression or function seeking performance. So again, desire is possibility seeking expression or function seeking performance. Man cannot live fully in body without good food, comfortable clothing, and warm shelter, and without freedom from excessive toil. Rest and recreation are also necessary to his physical life. He cannot live fully. Hold up. Hold up. Nigga gotta get some rest and recreation. Recreation are also necessary, vital to physical. That reminds me of a statement I read recently. It said, don't get so involved into your studies that you neglect your social life. So it's vital to also balance this shit out and have fun. Rest also, but have fun. Do shit that you enjoy doing, not just study all the fucking time. He cannot live fully in mind without books and time to study. He cannot live fully in mind without books and time to study them, without opportunity for travel and observation, or without intellectual companionship. To live fully in mind, he must have intellectual recreations and must surround himself with all the objects of art and beauty he's capable of using and appreciating. Here's another thing. This is what comes to mind as I read this. You know, a lot of times we look at fun as getting fucked up, drinking, and well, at least for me, I'll speak for myself. Maybe I'm the only one. But I know that a lot of times I neglected going out because a lot of times it was connected to going out, drinking, and getting fucked up. So, or smoking or doing just shit that connected with that lifestyle. But what I found out recently, specifically this weekend, is I was able to have a lot of fun with like-minded individuals on the same wavelength without drinking. I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, but because I was surrounded by like-minded individuals, it was just dope, right? So if you haven't experienced that, and if you think that the only way to have fun is by, again, getting fucked up, just know that there's another way. I promise you, there's another way. He cannot live fully in mind without books and times to study them, without opportunity for travel and observation, or without intellectual companionship. And that's the part right there that made me think of it. So without intellectual companionship. So you need that, you need to have friends that are, well, it depends where you are, right? I want to say above you, right? Because you may not be where you want to be. So you are going to have to put yourself in positions of stretching yourself and getting in rooms where people are above you. Or if you're already at a higher level, just continue associating with those individuals, and by default, y'all will do shit that's fun. I can't really explain it, but it's just fun. To live fully in mind, he must have intellectual recreations and must surround himself with all the objects of art and beauty he's capable of using and appreciating. To live fully in soul, man must have love, and love is denied expression by poverty. You get that? But a man's highest happiness is found in the bestowal of benefits on those he loves. Love finds its most natural and spontaneous expression in giving. The man who has nothing to give cannot fill his place as a husband or father, as a citizen, or as a man. It is in the use of material things that a man finds full life for his body, develops his mind, and unfolds his soul. It is therefore of supreme importance to him that he should be rich. It is perfectly right that you should desire to be rich. If you are a normal man or woman, you cannot help doing so. It is perfectly right that you should give your best attention to the science of getting rich, for it is the noblest and most necessary of all studies. If you neglect this study, you are derelict. You are derelict in your duty to yourself, to God and humanity. For you can render to God and humanity no greater service than to make the most of yourself. And that's huge. You know, this mentality is a complete shift from what most people are traditionally brought up, right? So as they say, the old saying, the root of all, the money is the root of all evil, right? But when you have this mentality, you understand that without money, you can't really make impact, right? So if you actually want to be influential, if you actually want to help humanity, you need money. So to me, you know, I think it's a sin to actually communicate or try to condition somebody to not love money, not appreciate money. I believe that money is a maximizer, right? So if anything, it's going to maximize who you are, right? So if you're a good person by default, you're going to be maximized good. And if you're a fucking idiot, then you're going to fuck yourself up. But to try to tell people that it's money that does it, it's incorrect. There's a science of getting rich, and it is an exact science like algebra or arithmetic. There are certain laws which govern the process of acquiring riches. Once these laws are learned and obeyed by any man, he will get rich with mathematical certainty. The ownership of money and property comes as a result of doing things in a certain way. Those who do things in this certain way, whether on purpose or accidentally, get rich, while those who do not do things in this certain way, no matter how hard they work or how able they are, remain poor. It is a natural law that causes always produce like effects. And therefore, any man or woman who learns to do things in a certain way will infallibly get rich. That the above statement is true is shown by the following facts. Getting rich is not a matter of environment, for if it were, all the people in certain neighborhoods would become wealthy. The people of one city would all be rich, while those of other towns would all be poor. Or the inhabitants of one state would roll in wealth, while those of an adjoining state would be in poverty. But everywhere we see rich and poor living side by side in the same environment and often engaged in the same vocation. When two men are in the same locality and in the same business, and one gets rich while the other remains poor, it shows that getting rich is not primarily a matter of environment. Some environments may be more favorable than others, but when two men in the same business are in the same neighborhood and one gets rich while the other fails, it indicates that getting rich is the result of doing things in a certain way. And further, the ability to do things in this certain way is not due solely to the possession of talent. For many people who have great talent remain poor, while others who have very little talent get rich. Studying the people who have got rich we find that they are an average lot in all respects, having no greater talents and abilities than other men. It is evident that they do not get rich because they possess talents and abilities that other men have not, but because they happen to do things in a certain way. Getting rich is not the result of saving or thrift. Many very penurious people are poor, while free spenders often get rich. Nor is getting rich due to doing things which others fail to do. For two men in the same business often do almost exactly the same things, and one gets rich while the other remains poor or becomes bankrupt. And to touch on a little more practicality here as well, I would say that a lot of it has to do with expenses, right? Paying attention to what's going out, right? So there's a skill set of being able to acquire or attain money, but if you don't have the awareness, if you don't have the control, if you don't have the discipline to pay attention to what's going out, this world is created. It's created for humans to consume. So by default, the more money you have, you're gonna end up finding a fucking place to put this money. You're gonna find a place to. There's not a lack of businesses that are out there willing to take your money. So what I'm trying to say is you got to make sure that you discipline yourself from an expense perspective and control. You got to change the habit that we've all been conditioned to live under, right? So most of us have been conditioned to live under consuming. Everything that we do requires us spending, 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 which is cool, but you have to change your frame of thought to saving and investing, and specifically saving and investing into assets, which by default start generating more income. And then from there, you could start spending money, right? But it's a frame of thought that's completely different from what we've been taught. And it's vital in order to continue elevating to the next level. If getting rich is the result of doing things in a certain way, and if like causes always produces like effects, then any man or woman who can do things in that way can become rich. And the whole matter is brought within the domain of exact science. The question arises here whether this certain way may not be so difficult that only a few may follow it. This cannot be true, as we have seen so far as natural ability is concerned. Talented people get rich and blockheads get rich. Intellectually brilliant people get rich and very stupid people get rich. Physically strong people get rich and weak and sickly people get rich. Some degree of ability to think and understand is, of course, essential, but in so far natural ability is concerned, any woman or man who has sense enough to read and understand these words can certainly get rich. Also, we've seen that it is not a matter of environment. Location counts for something. One would not go to the heart of Sahara and expect to do successful business. Getting rich involves the necessity of dealing with men and of being where there are people to deal with. And if these people are inclined to deal in the way you want to deal, so much the better. But that is about as far as environment goes. If anybody else in your town can get rich, so can you. And if anybody else in your state can get rich, so can you. And to this point as well, one of the greatest things in the 21st century is we're not limited to, in this case, the environment. Even though I know environment is not the determining factor in making it or not, but it does play a role, right? So if you're in an environment where people have only worked a job, right, it's going to be tough for you to break through unless you have an entrepreneurial spirit and start looking at render services to people that are doing that. But one of the greatest things of the 21st century is now most people, nobody, we're not really limited to that local community that we were brought up in, right? You could completely pull yourself away from what you were brought up in if you choose to engage yourself in different communities, right? So the internet allows you to conduct business with people across the world, right? So you could legit have relationships built. You could market products to people internationally. In fact, eBay just started a program that you essentially put up a listing and it becomes available internationally. You no longer have to pay the additional fees that come with it. They understand, they're ahead of the game, and they understand how big and how, I think the word is globalized, we're becoming, right? So it's no longer about a specific state, a country, a city, etc. Now you can't avoid it. You can't avoid it. So I think that the saying is, if you can't beat them, join them, right? So eBay is ahead of it, and they are offering international shipping and also putting your products out in front of everyone, which is opening the market as well. And again, to this point, it's eliminating the excuse of only being uh, tied down to a specific environment or the limitations that came from living in a specific in a local environment. Again, it is not a matter of choosing some particular business or profession. People get rich in every business and in every profession, while their next door neighbor in the same vocation remain poor. It is true that you will do best in a business which you like and which is congenial to you. And if you have certain talents which are well developed, you will do best in a business which calls for the exercise of those talents. Also, you'll do best in a business which is suited for your locality. An ice cream parlor will do better in a warm climate than in Greenland. And a salmon fishery will succeed better in the Northwest and in Florida, where there are no salmon. But aside from these general limitations, getting rich is not dependent upon your engaging in some particular business, but upon your learning to do things in a certain way. If you're now in business and anybody else in your locality is getting rich in the same business, while you are not getting rich, it is because you are not doing things in the same way that the other person is doing them. Ba, 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 ba. I want to send this to the local chat so some of the guys could get this. Give me a second, guys. Oh shit, I'm not even gonna front. Y'all niggas got me a bit worried. So I'm assuming that it does come up on your interface. You're able to see the PLS on the bridge for you. The only thing I could think is a potential update. I mean, I don't even know if that's even required. Um, what are your thoughts? Do you think that I have the wrong one? I mean, that wouldn't make sense either as I think this through because I got it off the Pulse X exchange. Um, yeah, what are your thoughts? Why do you think that is? All right. No one is prevented from getting rich by lack of capital. True. As you get capital, the increase becomes more easy and rapid. But no one has capital. No one who has capital is already rich and does not need to consider how to become so. No matter how poor you may be, if you begin to do things in a certain way, you will begin to get rich and you will begin to have capital. The getting rich of capital is part of the process of getting rich, and it is a part of the result, which invariably follows the doing of things in a certain way. You may be the poorest man on the continent and be deeply in debt. You may have neither friends, influence, nor resources. But if you begin to do things in this way, you must infallibly begin to get rich. For like causes must produce like effects. If you have no capital, you can get capital. If you are in the wrong business, you can get into the right business. If you are in the wrong location, you can go to the right location. And you can do so by beginning in your present business and in your present location to do things in a certain way, which causes success. You know, I look at this statement in a different light now, right? And the reason I do is because a lot of us, we've been conditioned to follow instruction for a long time. And when you know how they have a law where at 18 you have more responsibility and at 21 you have another. It's crazy how those laws and responsibilities are like the main thing that's promoted for you to be able to do is get fucked up and hurt yourself. But rarely is the ability to consciously think and do better things for yourself promoted, right? So from an early age, from the age of like 0 7, from 0 to 7, or day one, second 1 to 7, to middle school as you're a teenager, etc., you're constantly bombarded with being instructed to do shit. The masses, most people, right? There's a very small amount of individuals that have the right to consciously think. And shout out to parents that did it. But for the most part, if you went to public schools, and there's other shit as well, but just to keep it broad, they're not teaching people to think. They're teaching people to sit down and accept instruction. So no, I think this part is important because most people aren't even aware that they could decide for themselves, even though they're grown, even though they're of the age of being able to make decisions for themselves. They don't know how to, right? They don't really know how to. They're living the life based off suggestions and recommendations. And it's scary, but it was one of the most liberating things as well when you actually get to think for yourself. In fact, I remember years ago, I created a landing page. And one of the questions I had on this landing page was, it was it was a questionnaire, and it was everything rises and falls on. And I had a few different selections, but one of them was leadership. The other was marketing, yourself, or others, right? So everything rises and falls on leadership, marketing, yourself, or others. And I had people answer that question, right? I wanted people to give me that response because it matters, right? A lot of people think, and again, we could argue, but the truth is most of us are making decisions based on marketing, what somebody else has suggested we do. And there's a very slick way for individuals to get one to do something with some psychological hacks, unfortunately, to get you to think that you're the one doing it when really you're not, right? But it's okay. We continue pushing, we continue thriving, and you have to become aware of the ability to choose. You have to become aware of knowing that it's okay. And it starts with this, knowing that it's okay to fail, right? It's okay to fail. It's okay to make a decision, and it's okay for it being the wrong one, right? I'll speak for myself. I know that for a long time, I had trouble making decisions because I always wanted to be right. And by delegating decisions, you remove yourself from responsibility of being wrong, right? So if you give that responsibility to someone else, well, if she's wrong, if you're wrong, if they're wrong, guess what? You, it's not your fault, right? It's not a big deal. They chose, they decided. But again, I give you permission to make decisions today and be wrong. I promise it's okay. And you'll learn so much from thinking on your own. All right. So we are going to stop here on chapter 3. Continue improving, continue developing. If you have any questions, comment, like, share, and subscribe. If there's anything specific that you got from this, go ahead and comment below as well. And make sure to provide value to someone else, right? So maybe it's something that I missed, but make sure to include it in the section. And remember, this shit is nonstop.